Welcome into Texans Today, everybody. I'm your host, Jeremy Chuggs, and on today's show, are the Texans trading for a running back? Also, did they consider moving on from Money Mills? And Kamari Lassiter, is he the X factor for this Texans defense? Is he the straw that stirs the drink, the unsung hero of this Texans secondary? I'll break down all these Texans storylines on today's program. But before we go any further, before we take another step, we are currently losing to our Seattle Seahawks channel in subscribers this month. And funny enough, I actually did some digging. It's close to about 50%. It's 50-50 between people who watch my videos who are subscribed and unsubscribed. So if you could help me out, hit that sub button. It's 100% free. And I'm trying to beat our Seahawks channel on and off the field this week. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for free Texans content all year long. My promise is always this. Give me 1 week to prove to you why this is the #1 Texans channel on YouTube. If you don't like it, unsubscribe, all good. But I guarantee you, you will love this Texans community and this Texans channel. Before we go any further as well, if you're brand new to the show, this is how we break down our stories and rumors on Texans Today. We use a Toro heads meter. So if I give something 0 head, fake news, that means it's not happening. 1 Toro head, small shred of truth. 2 Toro heads, people are talking. 3, it's pretty likely. And if I give something 4 Toro heads, H-Town, hold it down. It is going down. So let's talk about the first story on today's show. The Texans, are they trading for a running back? I've been the one saying, we don't need a running back. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. But I'm going to give it 2 Toro heads. And it's because whenever multiple insiders, whenever multiple people are coming out and saying the Texans are looking at trading for a running back, my ears are going to perk up and I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen and I'm going to see what they have to say. And ESPN's Dan Graziano said just that in an article he dropped this morning. Teams, I expect to have interest in acquiring a running back ahead of the deadline include, but are not limited to the Kansas City Chiefs, Houston Texans, and the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, I have been team don't trade for a running back. I know a lot of people out there want Breece Hall, want one of these running backs to maybe bolster this Texans running back room, but I'm going to kick it over to you right now. I know a lot of y'all already wanted to trade for a running back, but after the recent reports from ESPN saying the Texans are in fact looking at running backs, what do you think? Should the Texans trade for a running back? Give me a yes, give me a no down in the comment section. If you get hit with the YouTube ad break here, all good. Scroll on down and let me know your answer. Should the Texans trade for a running back? This one's tough for me because I really like Woody Marks, and I think Nick Chubb is a good 1-2 punch back. I don't know if the Texans necessarily need to trade for a running back, and my answer is going to be yes, but only if it's for a 5th or a 6th round pick. I don't want to give up any of our premier draft capital in the first 4 rounds of the 2026 NFL draft, especially if we're going to have to go on top and maybe pay one of these guys as well, or spend some of our cap space on a running back. I will say, if the Texans trade for a running back, I think he's done for the year. I've been the one to say I think Mixon has a chance to come back in December. If you look at the timeline when he got injured and how everything's played out, I really believe Joe Mixon will be available to come back in December. But if the Texans go ahead and make a move for another guy, they already have 4 running backs on the roster. They have Jawar Jordan on the practice squad. You add another one, there's really no room for Joe Mixon on this team this season. And Schefter listed 4 running backs in his trade article earlier this week that he thinks could be on the move or are available for teams that need one. He said Breece Hall, Alvin Kamara, Jalen Wright, and Devin Singletary. All names that he thinks could be on the move before the NFL trade deadline. Reminder, November 4th, right after Week 9. I think the Texans, they're in a good spot right now, and my whole thing is, if you trade for a running back, I think that kind of hinders Woody Marks. You have kind of this lightning in a bottle. You have Woody Marks, who played really well up against the Tennessee Titans. I don't think he played bad up against the Baltimore Ravens either. I think he has a lot to prove. He has a lot of juice in those legs, and I want to see what this Texans team has. Nick Chubb has played well as well. I mean, he's averaging more than 4 yards a carry. Not too shabby. I like this Texans running back room. I don't know if this coaching staff or front office loves it as much as I do, And maybe they're looking to add another running back via all the reports from ESPN. That's why I'm giving it 2 Toro heads on today's show. Next story on the program. Did this front office consider trading Money Mills? Well, I'll tell you about that in just a moment, but couldn't do today's show if it wasn't for our amazing sponsors, PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Join millions of users and sign up for America's #1 fantasy sports app. On PrizePicks, how you play, it's up to you. If you want flexibility, choose a flex play where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, go for the power play. No matter your play, PrizePicks is a great way to put your takes to the test. And for the Texans primetime matchup, this is the lineup that I have laid out for you. Jackson Smith and Jigba. It's going to be a big matchup between him and Derek Stingley. Give me the less on his receiving yards at 83.5. I'm taking a demon pick here with Nico Collins. That means it's a little tougher, but I think Nico can hit pay dirt. Give me the more on 0.5 rushing and receiving touchdowns. And then Sam Darnold, 229.5 passing yards. Give me the less. This Texans defense is on a roll, and I think they'll continue that here this week. You can use my lineup, or you can make your own. Just do it over on PrizePicks today. And one of my favorite things about PrizePicks is I always worry about, what if this guy gets injured? What if this guy sits out the rest of the half? You don't have to worry about that. PrizePicks offers injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, PrizePicks won't count it as a loss. No one else is doing that. That's why I absolutely love me some PrizePicks. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. 1 Toro head. I'm giving it 1 Toro head in that there was a report that a team did reach out in terms of looking at Davis Mills. This coming from Ian Rappaport on X. The Bengals exhausted QB search, including calling nearly all teams with 3 quarterbacks or viable practice squad options. Among the names that they inquired about, Davis Mills, first name listed, Sam Howell, and Derek Carr, who's currently retired. Very interesting. They also checked in and kicked the tires on Ryan Tannehill. And the reason I wanted to discuss this is because obviously if Rapp is putting this out, if the Bengals, are giving this information to Rapp, they called the Texans and asked about Davis Mills. And I wanted to take a quick look at the trade that ended up happening between the Bengals and the Browns. It was Joe Flacco going from the Browns to the Bengals and basically a late round pick swap. The Browns get a 5th and the Bengals get a 6th. And I thought to myself, well, Jeremy, if I changed this out for Davis Mills, would I be happy? Because I imagine that's what the Bengals were looking at. They were looking at any option for a late round pick swap, a 6th for a 5th. Would I be okay if the Texans traded Davis Mills for a late round pick swap? Hell no. I would be so mad if they went ahead and traded Mills for that compensation, because he is a reliable backup. The Texans, they already extended him for next year. I think it makes no sense if you're the Houston Texans, because if anything were to happen to Stroud, even if he only had to miss a game or two, you're telling me now I have to look at Graham Mertz and say, hey, you're the guy, you're the QB1 that we expect to go out and get us a dub this weekend. No, I don't think Mertz is nearly ready to play an NFL game, a regular season game at that. I think the Texans would be screwed if they got rid of Davis Mills and anything happened to CJ Stroud. He is a reliable backup. There's a reason why the Bengals wanted to call him up, because if he needed to start for you, if he's starting for a team, people feel comfortable with that. The Texans would feel okay with that if they needed to start Davis Mills for multiple games. So I'm glad the Texans turned it down. I'm glad the Texans said, no, we're good. We'd rather keep Davis Mills. I mean, if it was for something far-fetched like a 2nd or 3rd round pick, maybe I'm or a 2nd for sure. But if a 3rd round pick, I'm considering, I'm like, yeah, but anything less than that, I don't think it really makes sense for the Texans to go ahead and move on from Mills. But what say you, though? I know a lot of people are part of the Mills Mafia, a lot of Davis fans out there, so let me know. would you have made that Browns trade with Davis Mills? Give me a trade or give me a pass down in the comment section. Personally, I would pass. I'm good on that. Let me know your thoughts down below on whether or not you would have traded Davis Mills to the Cleveland Browns. As we get into our last story on this program, Kamari Lassiter. See the X factor for this Texans defense? 3 Toro heads, and I think he is. I talked about it earlier this week, and a lot of people are highlighting the matchup between Jackson Smith-Njigba and Derek Stingley. But a lot of people aren't thinking about the guy on the other side, which is Kamari Lassiter. And one of his teammates was actually giving him praise earlier this week. This is what Xavier Hutchinson, Texans wide receiver, said on the most underrated Texan. I would probably say Kamari. With Sting being who he is, you forget about the other corner on the other side who can do basically the same thing that Sting does. I feel like Kamari definitely needs his flowers. He shows up every day. He's a dog as well. And I agree. Kamari Lassiter, even though, his rookie season, I don't think he got the flowers he deserved, and then started a little slow for the start of this regular season, but the past couple games, he's turned it on, and you can tell the difference in this Texans defense when number 4 is playing well versus whenever he's struggling a little bit. Let's look at the first 2 games versus the past 3 games for Kamari Lassiter. I really do believe that the big factor in the Texans defense has been number 4 on the other side. The first 2 games, 9 targets, 8 receptions on those 9 targets, 74 yards allowed, 2 touchdowns allowed, no pass breakups, no interceptions. Then we take a look at the past 3 games for the Houston Texans. He's been targeted 17 times, 10 receptions, 91 yards, no touchdowns allowed, 2 pass breakups, and an interception. He gets this Texans defense going because you can trust Derek Stingley on the other side. So if you can trust your guy Sting shutting down one side of the field, and then Kamari Lassiter is doing what he does, this Texans defense is golden, and so far in 2025, they lead the NFL in points per game allowed at 12.2. They are 4th in the NFL in total yards per game, 5th in the NFL in passing yards allowed per game, 7th in rushing yards allowed per game, and they're tied 10th with takeaways. The one part of this defense that I think needs to step it up a little bit, or maybe can, help propel this defense even better, is getting some more takeaways, but we know that kind of fluctuates from year to year. You played a lot of good quarterbacks to start the year in Baker Mayfield, and you also played Matt Stafford, who both those guys, I would say, are playing like top 5, top 10 quarterbacks so far during the 2025 season. So this Texans defense is top 10 in a ton of categories, and that has to do with a lot of their playmakers, especially guys like Kamari Lassiter stepping up, and he'll definitely need to step up this week if this Texans defense wants to shut down the Seattle Seahawks. That's all I have for you on today's show, folks. If you want to hit me up on X, you can do so at Jeremy Chugs. My DMs are always open, and if you made it to the end of the video, we're doing something right. Hit that subscribe button for daily Texans content all year long. We got you covered here on Texans Today.